About muscle these days, and that looks like it's going to continue into the future when it launches its first all-electric muscle car in 2024. I'm Fox News Auto's editor Gary Gastileau, and to talk to me about whether or not Dodge fans will actually like that sort of thing is Dodge and Chrysler CEO Tim Kuniskis, who joins me in the Fox Garage. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Gary?
Great. So listen, you had the big EV event last week. Want to talk about that, but first I want to talk about the present. Dodge, you had 42% increase in sales last quarter. Chrysler, 36%. Those are good results. But, you know, we do have this car shortage, this production shortage right now in the industry. Are those indicative of how well those brands are doing? Or did you just have cars to sell when nobody else did?
No, you know, I give all the credit to our dealers, Gary. It used to be an industry standard that you'd want a 90-day supply of cars. Nobody in the industry has a 90-day supply of cars. I mean, it's routine that we're going to be running a 20-day supply of cars lately. And our dealers have figured out how to turn that inventory very rapidly. They're selling cars to customers as they're coming in on transport trucks. And in some cases, they're turning 200% of the cars that they have on the ground at the beginning of the month. They're literally, as they're coming in, they're selling them. So they've been doing a really, really good job turning their inventory.
You think that's going to continue even in the future after the semiconductor thing is sorted out, the lower inventory plans?
Well, I think that the learnings from this will continue. I think we'll have a little bit of the pressure come off when the semiconductors goes away and we'll get a little bit better inventory. Will we go back to some of the historical levels? I don't know. It remains to be seen. If we can run at this level and be this efficient, I think we'll learn something from this, just like some of the things we've learned on, you know, new ways of working through the pandemic.
You also
like
said that
as an example.
Exactly. You also said that Dodge has the highest percentage of millennial customers these days. You make these sort of retro-styled cars. They're not the greenest cars. They've got the big V8s. What's the connection that the younger people have with this brand? I mean, people look at it and they look at a Challenger like, oh, that's a boomer car, but obviously it's not.
Well, if you look at the total industry, there's over 40 different brands in the industry and over 300 nameplates. I mean, there are so many vehicles to choose from, but when you really break them down, there's a lot of similarities between them. But then when you look at what are the outliers, what are the things that are different, what are the things that completely stand on their own and have their own identity, things like muscle cars. So if you look at a brand like Dodge, that's all we do. We do Chargers, Challengers, and muscle SUVs, and people are drawn to that being a little bit different.
One standout among those is the Durango SRT Hellcat, 710 horsepower, most powerful SUV, $75,000. You originally planned on only making about 2,000 of those. You figured out a way to increase that to 3,000, but you do have to stop making them at the end of this year. I mean, are you surprised at what a runaway hit that is?
Maybe a little bit. But there is high demand for horsepower. I mean, if you think about it, from the golden age of muscle cars, when everybody had 400 horsepower, it took us 40 years to get back to 400 horsepower, and then it took us only 10 to double it. So the appetite for increased performance just keeps growing. You know, it'd be crazy to think 5 years ago that we'd be selling 800 and 700 horsepower cars right off the showroom floor, but people can't get enough of them.
And during the Stellantis EV Day event last week, when you presented for Dodge, you pointed out that you've kind of reached the limits with the internal combustion engine V8, and that's why you're going to be switching to an all-electric muscle car in 2024. And he gave us a sneak peek at it, at least in this teaser image. Kind of looks like, you know, Dom Toretto's Charger. Clearly has all-wheel drive. At least you got a four-wheel drive burnout going there. Was that really what it's going to look like, or was that a little placeholder? Are we actually getting a look at what this car is going to be?
You know how we do it, Gary. There's a lot more in that video than you see at the surface. I tell everybody there's 3 hints in that video, and so far people have figured out one: the four-wheel burnout. There's 2 other ones.
Is that the one?
There's 2 other ones that people haven't discovered yet. And when we actually do show the car to the world, everybody's going to go, he told us that all along, but nobody realized it. It's in there.
All right, I want to piece a couple of things together here because you didn't really give any details on that vehicle, but a couple of your colleagues during the presentation mentioned some other things. One of them said that the large platform, the large electric vehicle platform it's going to be built on is capable of a 2-second 0 to 60 sprint. Another one said it's going to have up to 330 kilowatt motors. That's 442.5 horsepower. 2 of those would be 885 Plus, we're also talking about a 500-mile range. I mean, is that drawing the picture of what that car might be?
Well, I love what you're doing. You're taking bits and pieces from the platform, from the engineering, and then from the brand side of it and putting it together. You're making the Lego car out of all the different presentations. It tells you that the capability is there. That doesn't necessarily mean it's an indication of what the car will be. It's like when we launched the Demon and we said this car will run a 965. Just because we handed over Jimi Hendrix guitar doesn't mean everybody's going to do it. Just because the stuff's in the toy chest doesn't mean it's going to be in each and every car. The capability is there, though, for sure.
That platform can also accommodate a number of different vehicles, SUVs, other sedan, I would imagine as well. Are you going to be doing the full performance lineup like you do now, basically the equivalent of the Hellcats, but with electric?
Well, the only thing that we wanted to show during EV Day was the muscle car. That's where our focus was, because we wanted to make sure that the Brotherhood of Muscle really could rest assured that we are not changing. We are not changing who we are. Some technologies are going to change, and that's going to be good. It's going to enable even more performance than we've ever had in the past. But we are going to stay true to our mission of building pure American muscle.
Muscle cars are about style, they're about speed. We know electric motors can provide that, but also a big part of the appeal is the rumble, the sound of the muscle. Electric cars on the market today don't have that at all. Some of them make that sort of high-pitched whine, which is a little futuristic, but it's certainly not anything that could compare to a big supercharged V8. Are yours going to be different? Is sound going to be part of the equation? Is that something that you're going to come up with?
Yeah, we tried to make a real clear point during EV Day that when we do electrified vehicles, we will do Dodge first and then electrification second. So what's true to us and what's true to what our consumers want, we will make sure that we take care of that. There's no reason, if you look at supercharging today, there are many different supercharged cars on the market. Most of them you wouldn't know because they're very quiet, not ours. We accentuate that sound because our customers like it. You can do things that other people don't just with the base technology that exists. Watch Formula E. They have a very distinct sound to them.
Stellantis is committing at least $35 billion to electrifying all of the lineups. You haven't committed to going all electric, though. Does the V8, do powerful V6s have a future in 2030? Will somebody still be able to buy a muscle car with that kind of powertrain? Or do you think it's going to be all electric at that point?
It's funny. If you look at the industry forecast, take Dodge out of it for a second. If you look at the industry forecast of what we think the mix is going to be of PHEV, mild hybrid, full battery electric, ICE engines, it will tell you that out to 2025, you're going to have about 40% electrification within the segments that Dodge competes in. Now, that's only an estimate based on what people are extrapolating from today's demand. Do I think it's actually going to accelerate? It's going to accelerate if we can give the people the performance. If you think about different technology shifts in the past, and I point to electronic fuel injection as the number one, most obvious one. In the 80s, nobody wanted it. In the 80s, everybody said, don't give me that. Give me a 4-barrel Holley carburetor. I don't want to have that. I want to be able to tune my car. Fuel injection is for government mandates. It's for fuel economy. I don't want that. That's not for muscle cars. And as soon as people saw, wow, that actually can make my car significantly faster and perform way better than the carburetor, demand changed overnight and nobody wanted a carburetor anymore. All they wanted was fuel injection. I think when they see the benefits of electrification, I think people are going to be really tuned into it.
Along with Dodge, you're also in charge of Chrysler. Haven't heard or seen a lot from that brand lately. You've got the Pacifica, the Voyager minivans, as well as the 300 sedan. During the Stellantis presentation, though, did see your head designer, Ralph Gill, checking out what looked like a Chrysler electric utility vehicle. Was that a production vehicle? Is that something we're going to be seeing from that brand? And are you taking Chrysler in the electric direction as well?
You know, what's funny, we have 14 different brands across Stellantis, and we didn't have the ability to showcase all 14 brands during that. And so Ralph wanted to show a vehicle that's an indication of something for the future. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's a Chrysler, but every single person that has seen that video saw the outline on the grill and said, oh my God, that's a concept Chrysler hiding in plain sight right there. TBD. I don't know. Nothing to say about it yet, but it is a really, really interesting design study that Ralph's been working on that he likes a lot.
All right, Tim Kuniskis, reinventing the American muscle car. Thanks for joining us in the Fox Garage.
Thank you, Gary.
And to follow the latest from Dodge, Stellantis, and all the automotive news, head on over to foxnewsautos.com.